Hello, this is Chodaros of Chodaros Designs, and today's tutorial will be on the Spidey bracelet. This design was created by MsLoom, and this is just a small rendition. I was playing around trying to figure out what colors to use, and I had a difficult time trying to put together color combos. And this one's like all stretched out, but the basic concept is you can put a bead, and this one is like way too big, but in the center, and also that you have a band looped over your border band. Okay, so we just have to make sure that we place our bands in the correct order and then loop them in the correct order to get that effect. So I do suggest using silicone or thick bands if you can in the center. As you can see, there's not much to it. It's just a like a star or a circle pattern. And if you want to use different types of bands on the outside, you have a good thick layer that you could use thinner bands there. So basically everywhere you see a space there is where we would place some bling. And there's the back side. Okay, so I'm going to do mine a tad different today, which I will show you. So we're going to need a 7-pin bar setup. So your first two and last two are at the same level. Go down one peg, and there's your next two, and then your center one down. Like that. And I'm going to give you a shot on how I set up my loom. So there's the center and all the way down. So I am doing 2 looms in length. You can do 1. And I'm also going to add bling to some of the bands as well. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to use the jelly red, which I don't want to use an opaque or a jelly, but I like the color, so I'm going to use that. And also I'm going to use the Trandex. I believe if I said it correctly, these are their bands and they're ivory. If I need a certain color that Rainbow Loom doesn't provide, I do go a different route. Okay, so we're going to do our border, but it's not going to be a traditional border, so you need to grab the 2 colors. So the colors will be, see, my border there is metallic silver or metallic gray. And the other band that we're going to be placing will be the gold. Okay? So whatever band you want to wrap. So just for the first row, you want to start out with your main band color. So I'm going to put one there for closed ring. And we simply want to place our bands as we normally do, going out and then out. So that's our first row. And then we want to place one more going straight up on both sides. Okay? So in order to get this wrapped effect, we need to place our bands every other for the border, meaning I want my wrap color to be this ivory, so I want to go from my second pin and I want to take it diagonally to the end of what I just placed, like that. And now I want to take my border and go up 1, and then go back to my ivory to the next pin and take it over. Okay, so we're just overlapping. To put a border band and then diagonal band. Border band and then diagonal. Okay, so we'll do the same on this side. Make sure that you start out with one of your bands going forward, your border, and then we just simply go from this second pin diagonally up, border band straight, and then diagonal, border band straight, diagonal, border band, and then diagonal. Okay, so we're going to do this all the way up our loom until we get to, let's see, we're going to end on this peg right here. Okay, so if we're going to end, which is the last in this center part here, then the last band on your border should end on your third pin down, and then you'll have one more going like that, and then you'll take a border band color and go in, and then you'll go up, and then you'll go up once more, and we'll do the same on this side. So third pin down, that's where you'll end, and then you will place your last diagonal band, and then you'll go in, and then you'll go up, and then up again to meet in the center. Okay, so that is how we're going to end the first step. So let's go ahead and finish, and we'll meet back here for the next step. Okay, so we have the first step completed, which is just every other band for our border so we can have an overlap. So the next step is going to be a combination of 3 bands per section. I think it's easier to do the tutorial like this instead of just doing it and then having you guys come back. So we have to place 3 bands. I'm going to use the same color that I placed going diagonal. I'm going to stick with that color, so that's like an ivory. I'm going to use the same color for that, and then I'm going to use a new color, and it's going to be glitter gold. And as you'll see as when we start excuse me, every other band, I'm going to put a 6/0 size seed bead on and loom that up. That's totally out of spec for the design, but I just want to see what it'll look like. Okay, so you need stretchy bands for this. So the first step that we're going to do is all of my royal blue bands in here. These are going to be bands that we're placing horizontally on the first 2. So for that color, I want it to be glitter gold. Okay, so you can go all the way up your loom and just place these bands first, or you can do it in 3 steps. Okay, so first we lay a band going across horizontally, and this is the part where you need a stretchy band. So if you're using the same band that you used in your first diagonal, do make sure that it is stretchy. So we're going from this 3rd pin, and we're going to stretch it up diagonally. like that. Okay, so it is a good stretch. And then keep in mind, when we go to loom it, it has to loom back to that pin. So you have a good bit of stretching that's going on. Okay, so after we do that, we're going to place, and it would typically be a plain band, but you're just going to go up one from where you placed this band and where you last placed all of your bands meet up there. So it's kind of like on a diagonal there. So you have this color and this color being the same, which again is my blue. Okay, so that's basically it. You're going to go to your next pin and you're going to put a horizontal band, and then we're going to go down to where we just placed this vertical little band here and diagonally pull that up. And then we just take our band and on another diagonal like that. Okay, I'm hoping you guys can see that. Okay, so first we put a diagonal, and then second we go from where we left off and put another diagonal, long stretch, and then we place another band on the peg in front of it, trying to hold my loom, and we place a band going like that. Okay, so horizontal, long stretch, diagonal, horizontal, long stretch, diagonal, horizontal, long stretch, and then diagonal. Horizontal, long stretch, and diagonal. So again, this bracelet does not call for bling on these bands, but just wanted to see, curious to see how it comes out. So we'll go ahead and do this side. So we start up on the second set and do a horizontal, come down here to this first pin here on a third pin bar, long stretch, and then a diagonal, horizontal, long stretch, diagonal. So basically we're using every pin, okay? So we'll do one more and then you guys can go and finish this off. So first step is the horizontal, and then we go back to where we left off and start our long stretch band, and then one peg up we do our little stretch there, our diagonal. Okay, so one more look and let's finish this off and we'll come back and do the next step. Alright, so I hope I didn't confuse you. Always remember, take advantage of having the rewind, fast forward, pause. So basically this is what your loom should look like up till now. And we just pretty much placed all of our outer bands with one step left, which is to make 2 single chains up the 3rd and 5th pin bar. So where all of these loose bands are, we're just going to put a single chain going up, trying to do this with you to minimize editing, because editing is not my friend sometimes. So I'm doing mine as MsLoom did hers, which she did the same color as her outside border bands. And another thing, these bands do not get looped back to themselves, they get looped to the side. So it's not much of a strain on them. It's pretty much probably the same strain as if it was looping back to itself, but just to make sure that you use bands that are durable. Almost done. Alright, and just to make mention for our last step, that band should be connected in, so your first and second of the pattern, and you still have these 2 open, and now we put that single chain, so we're covering all 3 of the pins coming in. And then make sure that when you're finished that you push down all of your bands, because we need to add more to this on our next step. Okay, simple enough. Alright, so the next one is a new pattern, meaning to this bracelet. So now we're going to be focusing on this center part here, and MsLoom does hers in 2 different colors, which she does her renditions great because it's all meshed together. So that's my goal, is to do the same. So I'm going to do mine in glitter gold and glitter white. Okay, so if you're going to add bling, the bling I'm adding are these little rhinestone gold balls. They are 6mm in size. So I'll show you where to place those. So if you're doing an every other color pattern, you want to start out by placing 2 bands of the same color in the center like that. Then we want to take that same color, go back to that center pin, and do a long, oh, that's not a good one, and do a long stretch up. And we're going to make a V. Same on this side. Okay? So now that completes just this first one here. Every other one's going to be different. One thing I didn't, well, I think we'll wait to put our bling band. So if you're going to switch colors, as I am, then you would put 1 band going forward in your next color, and grab 2 bands, and we're going to create another V. So right where these 2 bands meet, take a long stretch up to the left and another long stretch up to the right. Okay, so this is the actual pattern we'll use going forward. Is we'll go back to this center and we're going to take a little stretch over to the left and then a little stretch over to the right. Okay, so just for this first one we just did a plain V, and then for this second one we do a big V and then a little V. Okay, so we're always going to go up one, but we're going up one, we're going to go up two, but we go up one with a bead on it if you prefer a bead. So when you're done doing your pattern, this is the time that you would add your bead. And another thing I want to mention is the design is on the top. Let me see if I'm saying that correctly. When you take it off the loom, no, it's face down. So we're going to have to push our bling through, if that makes sense. If you're using a one-sided charm, face it down. Alright, so I placed my bling band, and now I want to place another band of the next color of my pattern, which is gold. And so right after that bling is where I want to start. So we're only going to be skipping one peg, and then we do our V with the long stretch up. And then we take two of the same color and then do a small V. Okay, so no matter what, on these pins, this pin bar, you're skipping just this first one. Every pin will have a band on it. In the center, every other pin will not have the V. So you just skip a pin to do your V. Alright, so if we're going to add another bling band, we're going to add it here. If not, you're going to add another color that we just used. So in my case, it should be gold, one gold, and then it would go back to one glitter white, because that's my next color in my pattern. So again, go in between, long stretch to the left, long stretch to the right, and then a small stretch to the left, and a small stretch to the right. Okay. Alright, so place the same color of what you're just, of this pattern you're just doing. And then you add another band of your next color of your pattern. So then you go and do a long stretch, and then a short stretch, and short stretch. Okay, and do one more. So bling band. This is actually part of the design, adding the bling. Obviously, you don't have to add any bling, but as far as MsLoom designed it, this is what she designed in. Okay, that's what you should have so far. So your bling will always fall in between your V's if you're using that. And so let's finish up to the end, and we'll meet back to add some cap bands. Well, actually, I'll just let you know now. If you, where you have the 4 bands, the 2 V's, you need to add a cap band. So you can just do it as you're placing your bands. So then you would add a cap band, skip a peg, and then added a cap band. So it's every other peg, but it's where the 2 V's are. Okay, so we'll meet back here in a second. All right, so I did turn my loom around, but we have completed adding all of our bands. So that's what your loom should look like. I did make a mistake, and actually this is the first time I've caught it after making this how many times. It's an easy fix. In the center here, I'm going to take off this band. So basically what I did wrong was this V, it should go into this peg here. So I just have to simply take the top band off and place it on the peg in front, and then take the next one and place it on the peg in front. And then we're gonna have it zigzagged like that. It's the pictures that I got, they didn't show the end, and so I just caught on because we have to grab so many bands to go forward. But anyway, you'll be fine. Okay, so we want to start looping. So you want to add a cap band right here. So another thing, goodness gracious, I'm full of mistakes, but it is like 4 a.m. where I'm at right now. All of the cap bands that you added to your double V's going down the center, if you're using an opaque jelly, a thin band like that, you would just, you would need to triple cap it. If you're using an LE or a thick silicone, then you can double. So I used the glitters, so I needed to definitely triple cap them. So my apologies, I did not mention that sooner. So if you need to pause and fix that. Otherwise, we're going to start looping. So we're going to start looping what we just placed, which is all of the center. Okay, so we want to go in this cap band we just placed, and we want to grab the first band on top, which is going to go straight forward, like that. And then we want to do it once more, so we want to go back into the peg and grab the next band and go straight forward, and that is going to be on top of the triple cap band that we placed. So we have to go under this band, under that triple cap band, and grab the first band in line, which should be one of your little V bands going out to the side. Oops. See, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge because I'm filming. Usually I'm right on top of it watching when I'm looming it. So let me put my bands back in order. Okay, so we go in through 4 bands, grab that top one there, and this one goes back down to the left. And the next one in line should be its opposite. And then the next one in line should be the big V going down to the left. And you see the tension on that band, that's why you needed to use a good strong band. And last, down to the right. Okay, so we basically just loomed all of that out. And we're going to go back in the center and loom straight forward. If you have a bead, that's your beaded band. And then go in and loom another chain forward. And we are at our next triple cap band. So we're going to go through 4 bands. Top one, back to itself, opposite, back to itself. Next in line is the one that stretches down to the left and then down to the right. Okay, so I'll do one more. Set it down. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory after. Just always make sure that your bands are in order on the peg. That's something that I started taking for granted and messing up my designs. We always remembered that when we started looming, right? Well, when I'm trying to be like Loomaniac or Expert Looms and throw my bands on in 5 seconds, I mess up. Okay, So let's go ahead and finish that up all the way to the end of our loom, and we'll meet back down to start our next step. Alright, so we have all of our center loomed out. So another alternative, and this is more so what MsLoom would do, is now she would add her bling band. Okay, if you do that, you have to make sure that you're adding it on pegs that still need to be looped, because if you added it now to the center, we're done looming the inside, so it wouldn't be caught in order to be looped. So that's why I just put mine as the actual band that's going forward. So anywho, our next step is to loom up these two center chains, and they're going to get looped over to the side. So I'll start in the first one, which I'm going in here, and I'm going to loom out the border bands, the first border band that's going to the left, and the next that's going to the right. Now that'll act as the cap band, and I can grab the top band and that's going over to the left. Okay, so you go the next pin in line and grab that center chain band, and instead of taking it forward, take it to the left. It's pretty straightforward, and it's not a bad stretch on your band. Okay, so same thing down here. Grab that center band and take it over to the right. Over to the right. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish that up to the top of our loom, and we'll meet back when we're finished. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to loom out. We placed a small diagonal, and then we placed a long diagonal. Okay, so if you look on this second pin here, you have, like in my case, my band is red on top, but whatever band that you have underneath this band right here, that's which one you're going to loom out first back to itself. So it should be, every one should be your small stretch, and then you'll go and loom your long stretch. So we want to go into this peg here and grab down, and it's the bottom band, and bring it back down here to itself. And then we want to go up. You can see this band here is going up to this pin, so we want to go down inside, and it's the second to the last band, it's not the last band. And we want to take that one and bring it down back to itself. Okay, so the next one starts right here, so we want to take it back to itself and go up to the next one in line and loom that back down to itself. Okay, so it's two bands going back to the same pin. It's making sure you're grabbing the right band, and be careful because it does cause tension. So we'll come in on this side, and it is the bottom band, and loom it back down to itself, and go up to the next peg. It's the second to the last band, and pull it back down to itself. And then next in line, So when you pull the long stretch one back, you're going back to the same pin you just came from to grab the next one in line. Okay? Let's go ahead and we'll loom all of that up and we'll meet back here. Okay, so we have 3 more bands that we have to loop, and I'm going to show you how to do them all at once so we can minimize stopping and starting. So we're going to go into these next 2 pegs here that have our border band, and we're going to loom that out. 1, 1. Okay. Well, I guess we could go ahead and loom it out to the last peg. And it's the bottom band, so there's a lot of bands on top. Okay, so typically the next step is just to go all the way up your loom, looming over these horizontal bands. Okay, but I'm going to do all 3 steps right now, and then when we're done, we can pull our bracelet off. There we go. Okay, so that's just pulling the horizontal band over. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to loom down our bands that are what's the word I'm looking for? Diagonal. There you go. So we have to loom these the way we place them with our border. So the first thing we need to do is loom this diagonal down to here. So it's the last band on that peg, and loom it down. And then after we have the horizontal band loomed over and this band loomed down, now it's time to take one of the border bands up. So you go in, grab that bottom one, make sure it's the bottom or your bracelet will fall apart, and you just take it up 1 peg. And so we're going to go back in and do the same thing. We're going to loom over this vertical band or horizontal. It's hard for me to see when I'm filming. Let me move this. Alright, there we go. That's a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so once that horizontal band's over, now we need to take that band down. So we just pull it back down to this peg, and then we're able to loom up our next border band like that. Okay, so go up to the next one. We'll loom over our horizontal band. And then we want to go back in, grab that band that comes down to the border like that, and then go ahead and loom up the next border band. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do this side. So after you're done doing those 3 steps, you're completely done So when you take it and you look on the side, you can see what we just did. There is no more bands down there, so you know you grabbed them. Alright, so for this one, again, we start out with this vertical or the horizontal band. Loom it out, go back in and grab this band, bring it down, and now we're able to loom up one chain of our border. Yep, that's the right one. Okay, so then we come up, horizontal band first, and then this band comes down, and then the border. So horizontal band, and that band down, and then the border. Okay, so it is like really important that you do it in that order, because anytime that you want to have a bracelet that has bands outside of your border bands, the key is to remember that your border band is sandwiching the bands that you want on the outside. It sounds rather goofy, I guess, but that's really what it's about. So you always want to make sure that you have every band. So we have the border band on the bottom, and then when we loom over this horizontal band, and then we loom down this diagonal band, okay, we have completed all the bands that we need on this peg. So now we can take the other end of the border band and bring it on top, like that. Okay, see, it sandwiches everything in. Alrighty, so that's it. Let's finish all the way up to the top. And then if you want to take it off of your loom, we can certainly do that. I would take this off peg by peg, and when we come back, we can look at our finished bracelet. Alrighty, here is our finished Spidey bracelet. Very happy with how this one turned out. So a couple things I want to point out. If I turn this over, which excuse me, sorry about that. I've already started taking the bling out, but when you pull this off the loom, if you did it the way I did it and added bling bands, the bling bands, which means the face of the bracelet was facing up. So how we took it off the loom, the top is the actual top of the bracelet. And so how you can tell is this red straight line is on the back. So when you turn it around, it's all nicely woven in. Okay, so that's how we can tell. So if you want, you can leave it like this, which I like it as well. See all my seed beads? They're all on that band. I'd have to push them through. But what I've been doing is, so let's pick out one down here. So it'll end up being, excuse me, completely hidden. And remember, we place these bling bands in between, oh, excuse me, my goodness, in between each one of these circle bursts. Okay, so you see that chain right there? We want to open up that chain, and we want to slide that bling through there, and then we need to straighten it out. So I pull up on it and pull with my other hand and slide that bead down until it's right where I'd like it. Go down and push the next one out. Pull up and make sure you slide it into the correct place. I believe the last one, no, 2 more. Push it through and pull up on it. And slide it into place. And then the last one, you push it through. And then slide the bead where you want it. And then skipped one. So I find 6mm very, very nice size. They work well together. Okay. And if you have any twisted bands, depending on what type of bands that you've used, this would be the time to go ahead and fix them. I guess the only thing that kind of gets me is that these aren't all falling exactly straight, you know? So if you have, okay, for example, you see how this loop is just hanging out further? Turn it to its side. The one right behind it, that's the same loop. So if you make them the same height, then that's how you can straighten out these bands on the side. Pull them down like that. Okay. So again, this is the Spidey bracelet created by our favorite MsLoom. I hope you enjoyed making this bracelet, and if so, make sure that you hashtag your renditions on Instagram and Facebook. Love to see what kind of color patterns you come up with. So again, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We've got more coming. Bye-bye.